United Nations experts have slammed the Queensland government's tough approach to juvenile crime. The LNP won government, promising that children charged with serious crimes like murder would be tried and sentenced as adults. This week, the Queensland government will expand that list of serious crimes to about 20, including attempted murder and rape. But experts at the United Nations, well, they claim the adult crime, adult time policy is unfair to kids, like kids who kill people. The UN Special Rapporteur on Torture wrote an open letter to the Queensland government saying many new or proposed state laws, including Queensland's Making Queensland Safer Adult Crime, Adult Time Amendment Bill, are incompatible with basic child rights. If passed, the Queensland bill will result in additional adult penalties being applied to children for a wide range of offences. Now, the UN are calling for a child-centred approach from Queensland courts when children commit murder or rape. I would have thought the point of the court is to be victim-centred, not cuddling perpetrators, a point that David Crisafulli made in regards to the UN telling Queensland how to behave. Have a look.
I say to the United Nations, with the greatest of respect, this place will govern its laws. This place will determine how we keep Queenslanders safe. And this place will be accountable to Queenslanders, not United Nations boffins. We stand up for Queenslanders, not unelected officials a long way from this place.
I don't know, Freya, should the Queensland government be kinder to children who commit murder or attempted murder or rape?
Well, it's pretty clear we need a victim-centred approach. Just ask one of the many victims of youth crime in Queensland. Yeah. And the reality is that 55% of youth crime is committed by serious repeat offenders. 55%. These are not kids that had some sudden impulse and didn't think through their actions and had no idea what they're doing. These are kids that are in a life of crime that will keep reoffending and will keep hurting Australians unless they are locked up. And they talk about this child-centred approach. We've got to protect children's rights. But here's the thing. Rights are contingent on responsibility. When you violate your responsibility to your fellow citizens to treat them how you would like to be treated, when you murder, rape, commit arson, a whole bunch of serious offences, guess what? You don't have the right to claim you're just a child and you shouldn't go to prison.
And a lot of these kids are repeat offenders, right? They go through the system, the justice system, and what happens is that they get a slap on the wrist and they're back out there. There was even a case actually even in New South Wales last year. There was an 11-year-old boy who went to court for the 70th time in his life, 11-year-old boy. So once again, what we're seeing here is a situation where the United Nations are just proving themselves to be a real irrelevant bunch of hacks. They just sit in a corner office making these decisions. I'd like them to face the families, the victims, those who have actually been the victims of home invasions by these little devils, or even the family, for example, of Emma Lavelle up in Brisbane, who was brutally murdered by teenagers, and that case has already been and gone in court. But these are people, these are the real victims of this. And youth crime has actually jumped in Queensland. In fact, it's jumped all across the country as well. The United Nations needs to actually get back to its basic work and stop intervening in issues that actually have nothing to do with them, because youth crime is a serious problem in this country. But half of the problem with it is the justice system itself. And not to mention, let's not forget, the other issue are the parents. Where on earth are the parents?
You said the United Nations should get back to their primary responsibilities.
Well, what is their primary responsibility?
I've forgotten what their primary responsibilities are. They've been freelancing on crazy issues for so long. I should point out the Special Rapporteur for Torture from the United Nations is Alice Edwards. She's actually an Australian woman, but she doesn't point out any solutions. And it's this softly approach to juvenile crime that's got us into this position in the first place. Here's David Crisafulli in Parliament today stressing that this problem has been going on for a long time, and Queenslanders who voted for a tough approach to juvenile crime have had enough. He's going to do something about it.
We have followed exactly the timeline we outlined to the people of Queensland. We said that the first reign of changes would be done before Christmas. We said there'd be an expert committee set up, and then the second wave of changes would come into effect.
and we are determined to end a youth crime crisis a decade in the making.
I'll make one more point, Danica, and that is if adult crime, adult time laws are the biggest issue for the United Nations Special Rapporteur on torture right now, then I reckon the world is doing pretty well.
I think we must be doing very, very well. But look, youth crime is a very, very big problem in this country and it should not be ignored. So, you know, these boffins, as David Crisafulli rightly put it, need to just get back to their knitting because we can't keep going and that youth crime cycle, the cycle of crime can't keep going.